Senator George Mbugua, directed to the CS in charge of labor. That is question number 057. Will take us to 10:06. And thereafter, we will move to the next question. Clerk, you may now usher in the CS. Honorable CS, welcome to the Senate. You are here primarily to respond to question number 057 by the Honorable Senator George Mbugua. Senator Mbugua, you may now proceed to ask the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Waziri, welcome to the Senate. I rise to ask question number 57. One, could the Cabinet Secretary provide an update on the reinstatement of the Disability Mainstreaming Indicator, the DMI, in the performance contracting guidelines for the current and future financial years? And B, what actions have been taken against the public institutions that failed to submit data on the employment of persons with disabilities as indicated in the 2024 Status Report on Disability Inclusion? And 3, what measures have been put in place to ensure that the Public Service Commission assumes responsibility for enforcing the 5% requirement for the reservation and employment of persons with disabilities in all public institutions? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Good morning and thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you very much, Senator Mbugua, for this wonderful question, and thank you for the Senate for giving us an opportunity to talk about this very important issue. Before I read my written statement, I'd like to also congratulate Senator Christo Sigi for pushing and ensuring that we have a very good updated Disability Act. So it was very pleasing when we went to State House and the President assented to the Act. My response is as follows. The Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, through the State Department for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs, is mandated to create and enforce policies that protect the rights, welfare and dignity of all citizens, with a special focus on marginalized and vulnerable populations, including persons with disabilities. The government is committed to disability inclusion in the implementation of all its programs and has put in place policies and measures that are geared towards the improvement of livelihoods, economic empowerment, and for improved living standards of persons with disabilities, both at county and national levels. Mr. Speaker, sir, disability inclusion focuses on creating accessible, equitable environments in which individuals with disabilities can fully participate in the society. The ministry has made efforts to ensure that the disability mainstreaming indicator is reinstated. The State Department, through the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, acknowledges that the disability mainstreaming indicator was among 6 performance indicators retired from the performance contracting guidelines following the comprehensive review of the PC framework. The decision was informed by recommendations of the Stakeholders Forum, which resolved to reduce the number of cross-cutting indicators and retain only those directly linked to institutional strengthening and core mandate delivery. Despite its retirement from the performance contracting framework, Mr. Speaker, sir, the State Department for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs, through the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, which is a specialist agency mandated by law to spearhead disability inclusion efforts in public institutions, has continued with the implementation of the indicator. The rationale provided for its retirement includes, and it's spelled out there, its anchorage in law, both the Constitution and the New Disabilities Act, the belief that inclusion is now mainstreamed in many institutions and can continue to be implemented without necessarily being tied to performance contracting. 3, the existence of other indicators such as national values and principles of governance, which have aspects of disability inclusion and which are also reported, and the absence of formal impact assessment on the effectiveness of the disability mainstreaming indicator since its introduction. However, the ministry, through the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, continues to engage the Office of the Head of Public Service and the Public Service Performance Management and Monitoring Unit to advocate for the reinstatement of the disability mainstreaming indicator in future performance contracting cycles. In the current financial year, this 2024-2025, the State Department for Social Protection, through the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, is undertaking an impact assessment of the disability mainstreaming indicator to demonstrate its effectiveness when it was in place and to highlight its continued relevance in driving disability inclusion within public institutions. There, Mr. Speaker, I may regress and say that it is important for us to have some form of evidence that will be able to convince others that this is important. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, sir, the State Department for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs, through the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, is supporting ministries, departments, and agencies that have opted to continue reporting on disability inclusion indicators outside the performance contracting framework, and is working with county governments to institutionalize disability inclusion through alternative monitoring tools tailored to their structures and priorities. I'm very pleased that during the assent of the Persons with Disabilities Bill 2024, of which, Mr. Speaker, you are present, the President, His Excellency William Ruto, directed that disability mainstreaming indicator be reinstated back in the performance contracting guidelines, and we are very happy with that. While this ministry is actively advocating for the reinstatement of the disability mainstreaming indicator, we want to tell this House that there is need that the ministry that is in charge of public service and performance contracting, because they're the ones to include it. Ours is to lobby and say it is important, to follow the law, but they're the ones to carry out the presidential directive. And so it is good for the Senate to be able to ask them what steps are being taken for its reinstatement as per the presidential directive. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me now move to question B, about actions taken against public institutions that failed to submit data on employment of persons with disabilities. And my response is as follows. The 2024 Status Report on Disability Inclusion revealed that 50% of public institutions submitted data, that less than 50% submitted data on the employment of persons with disabilities, pointing to a significant compliance gap despite clear legal provisions requiring the same. Mr. Speaker, the State Department for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs, through the National Council for Persons with Disabilities and the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, has taken the following actions. 1, we've been issuing formal reminders, which we issue to all MDAs of government, reiterating their legal obligations under the Act. Number 2, which says that at least 5% of public sector employment opportunities be reserved for persons with disabilities. Number 2, in a move to promote transparency and accountability, the names of institutions that failed to submit the required data were listed in the Status Report on Disability Inclusion 2024, thus creating reputational accountability and encouraging future compliance. Number 3, initiated engagement with relevant authorities to explore possible enforcement measures for non-compliance, so that this is something that is ongoing, trying to lobby and ensure that others are told the importance of it and how to be able to enact this very important. And lastly, reviewing the feasibility of introducing mandatory disability inclusion reporting in government performance frameworks to ensure structured follow-up and consistent monitoring. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is important to note that even though there are laws for certain limitation sanctioning government institutions, we are committed to strengthening. There is really no enforcement mechanism. There is a law that says if you don't do this, then this is the punishment that you're going to receive. So lack of that, you have to lobby people and tell them. So there's a weakness there in telling people that they need to do this. So C, measures to ensure the Public Service Commission enforces the 5% employment reservation. Mr. Speaker, despite this legal foundation that is listed up there, the law does not explicitly assign enforcement authority to a single entity, creating a gap in accountability. As a result, the State Department for Social Protection Senior Citizen Affairs, through the National Council of Persons with Disabilities, has proactively initiated a multi-pronged approach to address this gap and ensure that the Public Service Commission assumes a stronger enforcement role given its constitutional and operational oversight of public sector recruitment. And the following measures have been undertaken. 1, the Ministry has formally engaged the Public Service Commission to issue circulars requiring all ministries, departments, and agencies to submit disaggregated employment data, specifically indicating the number of persons with disabilities that are employed. This forms the basis for accountability and tracking progress. And second, a structured partnership between the Ministry and the Public Service Commission is currently under exploration to 1, conduct joint disability inclusion audits in public institutions, monitor progressive realization of the 5% employment threshold, and integrate disability inclusion indicators into performance appraisals of accounting officers and HR managers in the public sector. There is ongoing work to integrate disintegrated employment data within the Unified Human Resource Information System and to establish linkage with the National Council of Peoples with Disability database for real-time compliance monitoring and cross-verification. Finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, all these steps are part of a broader strategy for transition disability inclusion from a goodwill-based effort. And I think this is very important. It's important to transition this from a goodwill-based effort to a right-based, structured and enforceable obligation. Achieving full compliance with the constitutional 5% employment requirement will require continued commitment and coordinated action across all arms of government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I submit.
Senator Mbugua, do you have any supplementary question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. CS, first of all, I'm not satisfied with the answer you have given because on many issues you just given some general indications without specifics. I would want to know from your response on page 2, you have indicated that there are some alternative monitoring tools which have been used. Would you tell this House which tools are these and where they have been applied? And secondly, Mr. Speaker, in the absence of the performance indicator, can the CS tell this House how his department, his ministry has been monitoring the inclusion status of the PWDs? Thank you.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'm going to request the indulgence, Senator Mbugua. Just the second question, I missed the last bit with the indulgence.
In the absence of the performance indicator, how has your ministry been monitoring the inclusion of persons with disabilities in all sectors, as your ministry is mandated to do? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and thank you, Senator Mbugua. Some of the alternative ways of monitoring have been through what you call performance appraisal. So they have been in the forms of performance appraisal of HR officers and also leaders of certain sections. So you are asked, have you been doing this? So that's part of the system. But as I said, there needs to be a better and improved system. And what I've told my officers after the Disability Act was passed is that we have to sit down, and we agreed during a Senate Labor and Social Protection Committee meeting that we'll be sitting down within the next 4 weeks with Senator Christo Asige. She said we invited her to come and sit with us so that we could go through modules of how to enforce and ensure some of these performance issues are indicated, and also how data is collected, because one of the challenges we face in this country is getting proper data. And you find that there is no proper system of even telling us how many disabled people people living with disability rather, they are living in our country, because it is not very good research that is done. So we need to agree on a tool. one of the tools that is used is called the Washington model, a Washington tool that is actually removed from our cultural experience. It's a tool that is being used that we've borrowed heavily from the West. We have to come up with our tool. So I want to assure this House and Senator Mbuga that within a very short time, we will come up with proper systems, not only for the public service, but also for the public sector. Because the public service may be complying, but the private sector may not be complying. The other thing you asked us about what performance indicators have we been using? I think I've answered that in the first question. It's been a challenge. When I got to this ministry, I found that there are a lot of things that are in theory that are not implemented. And I think that's the challenge we have with the public service all over the world, and especially in this country. There are a lot of things are put in theory, and they're in books, but they're not implemented. So it's part of the process that we are going through. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Muma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to ask a question. Honorable Speaker, I want to begin by declaring interest. I am a parent of a person with disability, so I take these issues very seriously. Honorable Speaker, indulge me also for just a minute to say that I have read through this question very carefully, and I'm afraid it's very underwhelming. The CS has not responded. The CS is scattering around. He is vague, trying to justify why an indicator has been removed, talking about beliefs, not giving any statistic to show that he has the competence as the department related with matters on disability to guide on the questions that he's been provided. There are many questions I could ask, but I'm allowed only one. I would want to know which tools has the ministry used to guide them in measuring disability inclusion, since you say your department has continued to use the indicator while the other MDS are not using it. Which tools are these, and can you submit this tool to us?
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to draw the attention of the CS to the figure 5%. Going by the example in this House, the House is expected to be properly constituted when we have at least two senators who live with disability. The Speaker would never start the House unless that provision was made. In your case, it is 5%. Listening to you, you are giving the country the go-round, whiling and talking about circulars and all manner of things that you have said. This failure by yourself and your ministry in this issue of 5% is a reflection of your failure in the employment of our youth outside the country. Those youths have asked me this morning, because they knew you were coming, that I demand of you, which I now do, that you resign as the cabinet secretary in the ministry. Boni. Are you willing to do so that you can be properly investigated?
Senator Boni, Honorable CS, you can disregard totally that statement by Senator Boni. Just disregarded our statement. It's got nothing to do with what has brought you before this House. Senator Enoch. And honorable senators, let us stick to our standing orders. Let us stick to our standing orders. Let us ask supplementary questions. Supplementary questions must flow from the primary questions. And Senator Boni, you're lucky I did not rule you out of order. So please, don't push the chair to those limits. Senator Enoch, proceed.
I'm wondering who is out of order
Senator
now.
Enoch has not even uttered a word. What is out of order about that? Proceed, Senator Enoch. Senator Boni, just take your seat.
We've relaxed. It's my time. I think the Speaker, My question flows from the response of the CS on part C of the question asked by Senator Mbugua on the issue of the ongoing work to integrate disability employment data within the Unified Human Resource Information System. So, Speaker, the question that I am grappling with is the CS indicates that as things stand now, treatment of issues to do with persons with disability is based on goodwill. And you say that there is a transition now towards rights-based structure and forcible obligation to persons with disabilities. As Speaker, I want to find out from the CS whether it is the position of the government that, in fact, the inclusion of persons with disabilities, so far, because what he talks about is a transition, so far, it's a goodwill issue and not a matter anchored on the Bill of Rights in Chapter 4 and Articles 41 and 54 of the Constitution. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Senator Muma, thank you for your question. And I'm aware, I think we've had this conversation about you have more experience than most of us. Mr. Speaker, sir, what we've been doing and what I found the ministry has been doing is that we have been trying as much as possible to use the tools that are given to human resource agencies when they're employing. And that is in terms of we look at what is the percentage of people with disability in their companies or in the institutions based on the employment data that they provide. And so it's about accountability and access